blurt them out. All right, so recap quickly of part 1 was how to make a motion. So you raise your hand, Cam will recognize you, you make your motion, somebody seconds the motion, the speaker, Cam, will then state the motion out loud to the Senate. You'll debate it, then the speaker will say, here's the final motion, and then you vote on it, okay? All simple, y'all should remember that. Next up, recap of last week. A member can speak twice on each debatable motion for up to 10 minutes each. A member who has not yet spoken on a motion receives priority. And then during the debate time, that is the time to propose amendments if you have an idea for how you can improve that main motion. And we're going to discuss that today. Got to be respectful the whole time, so can't talk while others are talking, you know, be paying attention, can't degrade people's opinions. You're debating the point, not the person. Debate should only refer to the merits of the current pending motion, and we're going to talk about the complexity of that today. And then the final point is debate ends when everybody's done speaking or when a senator moves to end debate, which then moves Senate immediately into voting. Okay, so this is what we're talking about today. Why aren't you moving? Why isn't this moving? There we go. So in the past, we've talked about main motions. That was our first session, and that's just a proposal that the group take action. Today, we're talking about 2 other types of motions. Privileged, which changes or affects the main motion, and incidental motions, which address a procedural issue. All right, so first up is a privileged motion. So a privileged motion is one that can change how the main motion is handled. It says what to do with the main motion. Okay, so the 2 in brown you all hopefully can see today, end debate and amend, those 2 in brownish text are the most useful for beginners. So if you remember nothing else, try to remember those 2. Okay, so the first one, lay a motion aside temporarily, which is basically the same thing as tabling. Some of you may have heard of the tabling motion. So the example of when you'd use that is when a person's speaking on a bill, maybe the person who's supposed to speak on a bill hasn't arrived to the meeting yet, or perhaps you need to get to something that's more immediate than this current bill. So you can then table that motion and basically puts it to the side for a little bit. The next one is end debate. So say you're in a Senate meeting and you're like, okay, I think we've debated enough, or it's getting repetitive. And you're basically ready to vote. You think everybody should be ready to vote. So you would then move to vote. That's what that motion is. Next up, I mentioned this last week, the limit or extend limits of debate. So if you want to shorten or lengthen the amount of time per speech, or the number of times people can speak on a motion, or the total amount of time to speak as on a bill as a whole, you can use this motion to say, you know, I move to limit debate to 20 total minutes on this bill, or I move to limit speeches to 2 minutes instead of the 10. You could do that. The next one is postpone. So it's very similar to tabling, which is the first motion I mentioned, but you're basically putting the motion to the side, likely because you need more information. Hold please, there we go. But with this motion, you actually are postponing to a specific time and or debate, and or date. So the difference between postponing and putting it out on the table is that when you put it on the table, you actually have to make a motion to take it off the table. So that means it could stay on the table indefinitely and may never come off the table if nobody makes that motion. Whereas postponing it means it's going to come up again no matter what, either next meeting or the following meeting or at 6 p.m., whatever it may be. That one's coming off the table no matter what. Whereas the tabling motion, you have to make a motion to take it off the table. Refer to a committee. So maybe you see a bill and it comes in and it has a lot of work to be done, you think, and you don't really want to debate and try to work through all the kinks in a large Senate meeting, which, you know, normally you'd have 45 people. You don't really want to have to knock out the kinks of a bill with 45 people. So instead, you could refer it to committee and allow the committee, a smaller group of people, to work out those details and bring it back to Senate. Amend, again, is probably the most common, along with end debate. Amend, you're able to change part of the main motion. So you can add or remove phrases, change numbers, whatever it may be. Something as simple as fixing the grammar is an amendment. And side note, you can amend an amendment, which again, we'll talk about in a minute. All right, and then the last one I want to talk about here is called postponing indefinitely. So this basically kills the motion without discussing it, without debating it. So this comes up from time to time where you might want to use this, and it's an attempt to not make the Senate look bad, to vote something down. So I'll just give you a very simple and uncontroversial example. So say a resolution comes up today and it's supporting something that's generally considered a positive thing, and but it's for next week. So let's just say we support non-traditional student week next week. You know, the Senate wants to support that. But then say something happens and all of a sudden you don't meet next week, so you don't actually get to vote on that bill until the following week when non-trad week has already passed. So instead of going through the debate and the voting on something that's kind of a moot point at this, at this point, you would then just move to postpone it indefinitely, and that basically kills the bill or resolution without having to go through the process of either voting it down or voting on it, in favor of it. All right, so with any of these motions, you cannot interrupt the person speaking. You have to raise your hand just like you would with a regular motion, go through that process, and you have to wait to be called on. You do need a second with these motions. But in the full motion process, I went through the recap from all the way from, raising your hand all the way through voting. Not all of these motions are debatable, and I italicized those. So for example, postpone consideration, refer to committee, amend, postpone indefinitely, those are not debatable. So you would skip that part of the whole process and go straight into voting whether or not to do that. And then this is a little more of an advanced concept, and I'll show you how this works in a little bit, but I've listed, so from lay motion all the way down to postpone indefinitely, I've put those in order of rank from high to low, which means that if any one of these motions is ever pending, you cannot make a motion that falls below it. You can only make a motion that is above it, which is a higher ranking motion. Okay, and again, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And then I also want to refer you at this point to that cheat sheet that should be in Teams that shows you actually more motions than just these. And it talks about when you can, which ones you can interrupt a speaker, which ones need a second, which are debatable, which are amendable, and what vote count they need. All right, so I'm going to pause real fast and see if anybody has any questions. All right, hearing none. So this is the complicated part of Robert's rules. So try to bear with me here. And then we're almost done, okay? So how do you, basically all that stuff I just told you, how do you use privilege motions in action? Like how do these things work in action against a main motion? So first of all, you have a main motion open. So someone can then so let's just say you have a bill. Someone can then make a motion to amend the main motion or the bill, which then goes through the motion process. So raising your hand all the way through voting. And then once you get rid of that motion, the amendment motion, then it goes back to the main motion or the bill. So if you happen to have that cheat sheet open, and I'll show you, if you don't, I'll show it to you in a minute. You can make a new motion even when there's a motion to amend open, as long as it's higher in rank. So like I said a minute ago, you can make a higher ranking motion if you have a current motion open. So for example, so let's just say you've got a bill, right? And I'm trying to show you kind of also the hand like gestures to this. So let's just say you have a bill, right? And then somebody makes a motion to amend it, okay? So that kind of moves inside a little bit, right? So while that motion is pending, it is in order to make a motion to refer the bill to a committee. So now it's like motion number 3, right? You could not, however, it is not in order to make a motion to postpone the bill indefinitely, all right? So you've got the main motion open, you've got the amendment open, you've got the motion to refer open, all right? And you have to get rid of each one from the inside out first. So The most recent motion was to refer it to committee. So you got to go through that process, you know, second, debate, vote, etc. Once you finish with that one, it jumps back out to the amendment motion. Then you have to go through that, debate, vote on it. And then once you're done with that, you're back out at the main motion of the bill. Okay. So does anybody have any questions about that? It's the complicated part. All right, so let's see. What else did I want to say? All right, so like a main motion, you can't debate two privileged motions at the same time. So you can't debate referring it to a committee and amending it at the same time. You got to get rid of one and then go back to the other one. So you can have, I mean, as you can tell, you can have like several motions open, but you got to close one by one using the process that we talked about from raising your hand to voting, with the pending one first. And so you're working your way basically inside out, back out to the bill itself. All right, questions? If you can sort of grasp this part, you're in a good place, because this is the hardest part of Robert's rules. All right, since I don't hear any questions, let's talk about incidental motions. So incidental motions address procedural issues. They have no impact on the main motion or the bill itself. Okay, so I'm gonna only equip you with 3 basic motions today. The first one is parliamentary inquiry. So this is basically, a lot of you, if you're new to Robert's rules, are going to use this one a lot. And, you know, as Cam is learning too, it might take us a while to get through some of these, but, you know, that's okay. We're all learning. So let's just say you're sitting in a meeting and you need help from the chair. You want to ask if something's in order, or basically, is it okay for me to make this motion according to Robert's rules? So you would raise your hand and you would say, point of parliamentary inquiry, can I make a motion to refer to committee right now? And Cam would then make a decision on whether or not that's okay, looking at his cheat sheet. All right, the next one is a point of information. Now, as it might appear, you might think, oh, well, they want to give us information. But in fact, a point of information is actually a question. So if you have a question related to the current business or motion that would help you make a decision, you would raise a point of information. So say you're in the middle of debating something, a bill that allocates money. You could raise your hand and say, point of information, how much money is left in the budget? Okay. And the third one is a point of order. So in a few months, once y'all get to be experts in Robert's rules, and you think there's a problem, like someone's trying to make a motion when it's not appropriate, you would raise your hand and say, point of order, it's not in order to make a motion to amend right now. Okay. Now, for most incidental motions, and again, there are more than these 3. These are just the 3 most basic that I thought you should know. But for incidental motions, you can interrupt the person who's speaking, but it is requested that you try not to interrupt unless it's just dire that you need to tell, or you need to ask that question right in that exact second. Otherwise, just let the person finish their debate and then ask your question. Or if they're in the middle of something and something's going wrong and you think it needs to be corrected, then you can make your point of order at that point. So for these motions, you do not need to, whoops, that should say do not need to be recognized. I need to fix that. You do not need to be recognized by the chair in order to make these motions. So like I said, as debate's happening, you can just raise your hand, say point of parliamentary inquiry, blah, 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 blah. Point of order, this is not acceptable right now. Point of information, how much money is in the budget? You can just raise your hand and then start asking your question, or saying what the problem is. Okay. Most, including these 3 motions, do not need a second and are not debatable. So that means we don't have to go through the whole long process just for you to be recognized and actually get your point across. Now, there are other incidental motions, which you can see on your cheat sheet. And again, it says whether they can interrupt a speaker, whether they need a second, if they're debatable, and if applicable, what the vote count would be for each of these motions. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's the complicated part of Robert's rules. So what questions do y'all have? I know you have to have some. If y'all had some in the other weeks, you have to have some today. I'm going to show y'all the cheat sheet real fast, since I bet you a lot of you don't have it available. let's see. All right, here you go. So y'all should be able to see the cheat sheet that I referenced, right? So everybody has access to this. So this talks about the privileged main motions and the incidental motions, okay? So I didn't put all of these in the presentation, just the most common ones, but if you want to do something, so if you want to lay a motion aside temporarily, here's what you say. I move that we table. And again, it's I move that. It's not I motion to move that. It's just I move. Can that motion interrupt a speaker? No, you have to be called on. Do you need a second? Yes, you need a second. Is it debatable? No. Is it amendable? No. What's the vote count needed for it? And these are all in order from top to bottom. This is the highest ranking privilege motion. This is the lowest ranking privilege motion. So that means, and it says it real small right here, but this basically means that if you're in the middle of debating a bill and someone makes a motion to amend a bill, you can then make a motion to vote, but you could not do one underneath it. So you could not postpone it indefinitely while you're in the middle of a pending motion to amend, if that makes sense. So all of these up higher are higher ranking motions. And so they take precedence over and they supersede any other motion below them. All right. Same for incidental motions. These have no order, so these are not in any sort of ranking order, but it just says, like, if you want to object to the procedure, this is what you say. Point of order, this is not okay right now. Robert's rule says we can't do this. Can you interrupt a speaker? Do you need a second? Is it debatable? Is it amendable? And then what's the vote needed? In this case, this is the one that Cam would decide if it's, if he'll take your objection. Okay, so. Anyway, so there's some more things down here. I'll let y'all review them later, but just wanted to point out that this cheat sheet can be really, really helpful. So I'd encourage y'all to have it up or print out a copy. I think, Cam, y'all printed a copy for them in their little packets, right?
Yes, a majority of everybody did receive one. And then some people didn't because we ran out of the ones that were laminated. And so we did get some new ones, but it's also in the drive. And so I'll show you guys how to find it in the Teams channel as well.
Yeah, so I'd encourage y'all, especially while you're still learning, to have that up so that you can, be a little Robert's Rules expert and, not waste time doing the wrong things. You can just go straight into how to do it properly. So anyway, is any questions for me? Okay, last one. It will be next week. It'll be really easy. So get excited.
Thank you, Krista. All right. Okay. So you guys should have just received an email from me. So I just sent out the standing committee list. We're going to talk about it a little later, but I just wanted to email you guys that out. So you did have it and I didn't forget to give it to you guys. So we're going to go ahead and move forward through the agenda. All right. So. You guys are. All right. So next thing on the agenda is old business. So approving minutes from September 30th. Were there any objections to the minutes that were emailed out to you all from the last meeting? Okay, well, if there's no objections, I'll go ahead and move forward. So the minutes from September 30th have been approved. Okay, all right. So for new business, we do have 2 election board appointees who will be coming to come speak to us about their interest in the election board. Let me see if Amanda's on the call. Yes, Amanda and Tucker are both here. Amanda, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So for right now, this portion, if Michael didn't loop you in, this is just giving your spiel about exactly what your interests are, your reasonings, maybe about exactly why you want to do the election board, anything else you want us to know that will take us in consideration for this position. So you have the floor now.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to try to go through everything a little bit briefly because I do have class that starts at 6. Just to introduce myself, I am Amanda Zimmerman. I use she, her pronouns. I am a senior theater major here at UNT, and some of the ways that I am involved on campus are through my sorority, Kappa Kappa Gamma, the North Texas 40 Student Foundation, and then I also work in the union with Krista, actually, in the Student Activities Office. It's always a fun time in Union 345. My interest in being on the SGA election board is that I believe that SGA is one of the most important organizations that is on UNT's campus, as it does involve literally every single student that goes here that is an undergraduate. And this organization has such a big impact on the campus and the students themselves. And I believe that as an election board member, being able to help foster the new transition into the exec board for the coming year would just help so much in making sure that the SGA continues to leave a good impact on campus. And as a person that is going to graduate school for higher education, I am very passionate about the student activity side and getting involved in campus and making sure that you leave your mark during your time at UNT and wherever you are at in your future. So yes, that's a little bit about me. Does anyone have any questions? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Sorry.
Yeah. Senators, are there any motions? Go ahead, Grant.
Motion to go to a period of questioning.
I second.
Okay.
Who
Seconded by Stephania. Okay, Grant, you have the first question.
So obviously you're very passionate. Oh, man. Obviously you're very passionate about UNT, and that is great and fantastic. But do you have any other experience with handling something as large as an election for the student body?
I am the vice president of Kappa Kappa Gamma, which is a typically about 90-member chapter with lower recruitment numbers because of COVID. The chapter is a little bit down, but I am also the vice president of the Panhellenic Council as the vice president programming, and then I am the executive director of the Greek Community Board, which covers the 1,500 students that are students at UNT. And I also have just been elected for my sorority as the nomination committee head, who does go through the election process and making the slate for the next year and so forward with that. And then I do have experience with serving on the union board of directors as the chair this year, so I am familiar with proceedings in that sense.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Senator Germain.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. Hey, Amanda, how's it going? It's good to see you. My question would just be that I've noticed that the past people that we have appointed to the election board have all also been members of NT40. And so my question for you is, say that I'm a member of NT40, right? And I decide that I want to run for SGA president or vice president, right? How will you all, well, specifically you, how will you make sure that you're non-biased when a case might come up against someone who is an NT40 versus somebody who is not?
Thank you for your question. It's good to see you too, JT. I do have experience with the whole non-biased aspect of ruling. With Panhellenic Council, during the entire summer, you are disaffiliated from your chapter and you're not allowed to wear any t-shirts or have anything on your card or say that you're a part of that chapter, as to make the recruitment process fair for all the new members that are going through. And then also, I do have to be unbiased when it comes to the election process for Kappa Kappa Gamma, as I take into consideration what they wrote on their application, and then anything else. I don't necessarily do it based off of who my friends are and that kind of thing. So that's the answer to your question.
That was a good question. Okay, are there any motions on the floor? Go ahead, JT.
A motion to move to a period of voting, if nobody else has any questions.
I
Second.
Grant and I believe Stephania seconded, but I know Grant for sure did second that motion. All right, so move to a period of voting. So I've just sent the link in our Senate group chat. So go ahead and submit your vote for Amanda as election board commissioner, as election board appointee. Okay. count. How many senators do we have on the call?
It should be 20.
20.
Let me check again.
Well, did Alyssa come?
Huh?
Is Alyssa here? Because if Alyssa isn't here, then it's 19.
No, she's
Okay.
not here.
Okay, but Chris. All right. So go ahead and we'll move forward. So the vote it's 15 submissions that I have right now. I believe on roll call we had 17, correct, David? Because we had 3 absent.
We should only have 2 absent.
It's 2 absent. Because I know Alyssa and then Alyssa, Melissa, and then Christopher. I'm not seeing Christopher on the participants. But anyways, congratulations, Amanda. You've been appointed as election board member. So thank you. Have a good time at your class.
Thank you guys for having me. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move forward for our next appointee. So next we have Tucker Fischbacher. Tucker, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Am I good to go?
Yeah, you can go ahead and go.
Hi, everyone. I feel so important to be in front of the whole SGA right now. So as Cam said, my name is Tucker Fischbacher, and I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm a junior entrepreneurship major, and I'm minoring in management, and I plan to own a wedding planning business. So my involvement on campus, when I was a freshman, I was president of the Residence Hall Association for Santa Fe and Traditions dorms. I was an orientation leader for the summer of 2019. Last year, I was a resident assistant at McConnell Hall for the TAM students. I'm currently a resident assistant at Legends Hall for upperclassmen. I'm also currently the social media coordinator for Best Buddies and Eagle Dreamers, which are 2 student orgs on campus. I also have previous election with an SGA election because I was the small organizations director for Michael and Cameron's campaign last year. I want to be on the election board because I think no matter what the election is, whether it's a state election, a university election, a presidential election, I think it's very important to have a group of people that are ensuring that there is an equitable and fair election for all parties involved.
All right. Okay, so are there any motions on the floor? Go ahead, JT.
A motion to move into a period of questioning.
Second.
Okay, Grant seconded. All right, you can go ahead, JT, with your question.
Okay. Tucker, my question would just be again, kind of like I asked Amanda. I know that you are good friends with Michael and Cameron. So if we have somebody who is running, who you might not be friends with or associated with, how are you going to make sure that you're staying biased in your rulings?
Thanks for the question. So obviously I have a very diverse group of friends on campus, on and off campus. And I think that in a professional setting, you have to kind of recognize your audience. And in a professional setting, that's not something that you can do, is just choose someone based on who your friends like or who your friends don't like. And I can say right now that we have different groups of friends that we already keep separate. And so there would be, I don't think that I would have bias in that. And I've also taken trainings on unconscious biases.
Are there any other motions?
I move that we go into a period of voting.
Casey seconds.
Okay, move into a period of voting. All right, let me do my job and gather the link real quick for you all. All right, I'm dropping this in the Senate channel right now. Okay, there you guys got it. Okay. So Tucker, you have been appointed as an election board member, 14 to 3. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good night.
All right, bye, Tucker.
Bye.
Okay. So moving forward through the agenda, next we have speaker announcements. So for my announcements are just one announcement that I have outside of standing committees was talking to you all about with standing committees as well as with college reports. So at the next meeting, we will start doing college reports. I believe Senator Melissa or Senator Tara have brought this up to us or up to me. I believe like 3 weeks ago about college reports. So essentially what college reports are is something that all senators jointly from each college are talking about, you know, what they're working on right now currently within their college, if that's meetings, if that's Senate work, office hours, whatever it is, legislation, or just there's nothing to report right now. We're just pending, we're waiting for contact from our dean, whatever it is, just reporting back to Senate exactly what you've been working on for the past week. But what I'll have happen is that we'll do these bi-weekly instead of weekly, just because it might get a little too repetitive and then there might not be that much work going on within a week. So I will just have you guys do college reports every week, but then on that off week, we will do committee reports. So committee reports will be centered around exactly what's going on in your committee. Was there anything else new to report to us? And then other than that, that'll be pretty much it, exactly what you'll be reporting. Are there any questions about college reports or committee reports? Nope. Okay, and so for those, instead of having you guys like take time during the meeting, we'll have you guys, or what I'll have you guys do is just email me exactly what you've been reporting, and then I'll put it on our agenda. And so then other senators can go ahead and see exactly what's going on in other colleges. That way we're not taking too much time during the meeting, you know, with everyone speaking, you know, who wants to go first, et cetera, we'll just make it easier, and it'll be the same thing for the committee reports too. Just to remind you all, for committee reports, before I show you guys the placement, but I did just email you it out. The other thing that you need to be mindful of is selecting your chair as well as your secretary. And then you need to also make sure for the secretary, needs to make sure that they are reporting minutes to David, at least monthly, just so we can know exactly what's going on within the committee outside of that report that you're giving us. But if there aren't any questions right now, so right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little spill on exactly, you know, the main goal of committees. I've kind of talked about this a little bit, but just so no one's confused, I have like in one-on-one just chatted with the few senators who I've chatted with in the past week about committees, and I just want to make sure everybody's just clear and they understand exactly what's going on. So the primary goal for committees are to pass legislation through those committees, to talk about issues that are going on that revolve around whichever the goal of that committee is. Some committees do have a goal that might be short term or like not that huge of a goal or not that much. It might not be the example, not the example, but the mission of that committee might not be a full summary or full explanation of exactly, you know, what all you're going to entail. Senate conduct is going to be a committee that is going to be just something that at the beginning of the semester, I'll give them my conduct that I want to submit to Senate, and pretty much all it is just like, hey, does this look good as far as what I'm asking senators to report for office hours, to report in dress code, to report whatever it is. If it's a point system, whatever it is that I want to present to you all, I just want to get other senators' feedback. And so that's what that committee will essentially just review the conduct and get it back to me within a week to just explain if there's anything that they think, you know, I think senators, you know, this being a semester where COVID is going on, we should have, instead of 3 absences, 5 absences. And so just reporting back to me exactly their concerns that they feel that other senators also might have concerns about. After that, you know, I would see the goal of this committee possibly working with myself and then Sergeant at Arms. So Senate, or well, honestly, probably all Senate officers, if there was any sort of conduct issues going on. And so we can see exactly how that looks in the near future, but essentially I would hope that there's not going to be any sort of conduct issues, but you know, we can submit them to conduct. Like for example, for like sororities and fraternities, they have standards, I believe. And so like submitting, you know, to standards, like if you got in trouble or something. So I don't think there's going to be an issue with anyone. I've never like, you know, noticed anything going on right now. And definitely like what I want to do is make sure if I do see you guys like repetitively missing meetings, I want to follow up before you get to your third absence and see, hey, can we set up a meeting? Because I just want to chat with you, see exactly, you know, if there's anything that I can do. You know, can we talk about anything? How can I help you? Just because I know the meetings are weekly and that could be a lot to ask of you, especially if there are things that are going on personally or within your classes. So, you know, definitely within that, always remember to just keep me in the loop. But those are just kind of an example of this conduct committee. For your student affairs, your equity, diversity, and your student wellness committee. So these committees are going to focus within each of their missions. So student academic success, growth, and personal development. So anything that revolves around legislation that is focusing on academic success, growth, or personal development. So for example, one example I gave, and I believe this is something that was passed, but it wasn't, upper admin didn't continue taking it forward because they didn't see how feasible it was, but pronouns. So pronouns within your syllabi, pronouns, if that is on the syllabi or if that is on, I don't know, like professors, like their name tags for their doors. So essentially the legislation was passed, essentially saying that pronouns should be something that's implemented in classrooms. And so that could be something revolving around student affairs, focusing within student development, personal development, increasing their development, increasing their inclusivity within our campus. So that would be something that student affairs could focus on. But that's not like, that's something that's already happened. So that we could follow up on legislation if we would like to. But that was just an example of something that you guys could do within Student Affairs Committee. For the equity, diversity, and student wellness. So equity and diversity, of course, promoting diverse initiatives on our campus. So focusing within how do we continue to become more diverse? I'm not talking about just racially, I'm just talking about in general. How do we continue to become more diverse, more diverse campus in all kinds of ways? And so that's what that committee will focus on, is passing anything that can maybe make our campus more inclusive. I know an example that I gave in one-on-ones was maybe putting more pressure on administration about the Multicultural Center building. It's came up, it's something that's in talks right now. But if this wasn't something that was in talks right now, maybe putting together and tasking, you know, the MC as well as other senators, hey, we would like to have a freestanding building. And so, you know, whereas the University of North Texas is a minority serving institution, whereas we believe that minority serving students deserve a freestanding space. Just an example of something that committee could pass. Student wellness. So focusing within wellness, the health and well-being of students. This one is going to be something that is going to probably be, I think, a little tricky, just because kind of thinking about exactly what kind of legislation can we pass that is focusing within student wellness. I think mental health is the biggest thing that we can definitely use as our kind of like assist. I'm thinking about exactly, okay, what kind of legislation, what kind of resolution can we pass that we could possibly implement on campus-wide? Something that maybe that's running through my head right now is possibly within mental health. So maybe demanding that there are more dogs, more, you know, I know the counseling and testing services, they have animals that you can come and pet and, you know, play with, and, you know, to increase your mental health. And so maybe demanding that there's more weeks or there's more days in the week that they're doing that. That's just kind of like, that's not a good example, but that's kind of an example that you could think about doing. But the reason why within this document that I did include missions, as well as, you know, who to keep in contact with or who to remain in contact with, is to kind of help you guys think about exactly what other things can I do. So meeting with the Student Health and Wellness Center. So for those committee members who are on this committee, I would expect you to at least meet with the Student Health and Wellness Center at least once a semester just to discuss exactly what kind of issues are you guys having? Where have there been any sort of concerns that students are having right now? As well, I mean, I think another thing you all can do is, and this is just ideas, hey, how about surveys? Hey, let's assess the student body and see exactly how they're feeling about their mental health. These are things that the committee can work on. But the biggest goal out of committees is legislation, passing legislation, reviewing legislation. So anything that pertained within student affairs, and say Senator JT wrote, but he's not a part of the student affairs committee, and this committee feels that, hey, we would like this legislation to come back to committee, then they could ask for the legislation to come back to committee. The committee essentially is to kind of like help us as well on what kind of legislation can we do. What other kind of ideas can we put together? I think working together with other senators is very something that's very needed, so that we can brainstorm on what else, what are some other things. I understand that, I've seen the big book of legislation that's been passed in the prior years. So I understand that, Scott, that it may be a little difficult trying to figure things out, but utilize your resources. Victoria has been like really, really, really great about like just reaching out to me. I mean, I'm not saying nobody hasn't, but Victoria, she's been really good about just like connecting with me and asking me any kind of questions. So, if you have any questions that you are just kind of stumbling on, definitely let me know so I can kind of help you, or if I can point you in the right direction to give you some sort of help. But that's the main goal of the committees, is to increase the involvement within Senate, but also to increase the legislation that we're pushing out in the student body. Are there any questions about like the focus of committees? Okay, so for the placements. So right here, I do have the placements for each committee. So we do have one committee that does have only 3 students. There were a couple senators that I didn't receive your submission. So I did end up just placing you in a committee. I tried to do your first or second choice. I did just email this to you all, so you do have this document handy in your emails, but also if you want to take a screenshot, go ahead and take a screenshot. So what all I need from you all is, yes, JT, go ahead.
Okay, are these committee placements final?
Yes, what's up?
Okay, so what if I'm on a committee like necessarily and I don't, or I feel like I would be better suited on another committee? How would that work?
Well, the reason why bylaws was the only committee that was a majority of people was like their last option. So I had to think strategically of what are some senators who I would believe would be very helpful and also would be willing to. But if we want to talk with other senators and see if there can be a switch, then we can do a switch. But you would need to just find a senator who would like to do a switch with you in that committee. Because right now, that like if I was to remove you out that committee, there's only 2 people. And yeah, and Melissa, I know she's like heavy, like she's really busy right now. So I don't want to, like David will essentially be the only person who's going to be really active in the committee. But let's touch bases outside of the meeting and like probably figure something out and see what we can do. But right now it is going to be it's going to be set in stone for right now. But if there are any kind of like issues, just let me know. I try to place everyone in their top 1 or 2 committees, but it was kind of hard because there were some committees that were more heavily like favored than other committees. So I did have to just go ahead and just choose, okay, well, I feel like this senator could probably focus within this committee a little better if that was like a part of their platform. Like Bushra, for example, I know one thing that she voiced her concern about was within the engineering college and like within the student affairs, not the department, but within like involvement within the senators, or not the senators, but the students in the college. And so I thought maybe that'd be a good placement for her. But that was just my, that's where I did that from. Yeah, David.
I recognize Devin to speak.
Are there any objections? All right, go ahead, Devin.
Thank you, and good evening. Quick question. I was looking at Constitution and bylaws, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but is there any rules against a senator serving on 2 committees?
So that's what I've told senators in email, that right now what we're doing, I'm getting an interpretation on that entire section because since I've talked to Krista, I'm going to tell you right now and be frank that what I'm understanding is it's talking about ad hoc committees because it's specified, it just says committees. So I don't know exactly what it's specifying. So once I get interpretation from that, then I'm getting back together with the senators to let them know exactly, okay, this is what I got from Supreme Court. So just to let you guys know, you can sit on more than one committee. You don't have to sit on a committee. Just because I want to get interpretation on that, because it doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's confusing, the wording, the verbiage of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And it might be a somewhat unrelated question. I was just wondering when the Advocate General was going to be appointed.
He was appointed last week.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, Ryan.
Do you know when you might get that interpretation from the Supreme Court?
So Michael is, I think he said either the end of this week or the beginning of next week, he's getting with the Supreme Court to start getting them the bylaws and constitution so they can start reading through it. So that I already told him that I'm gonna have one task for them already. So hopefully within the next week or two. I know you were one senator who did reach out. If you can, just try to go ahead and just go to the scheduled meeting that you guys do plan to for right now. And then I would say no later than like the 3rd week of October, I should have an answer of exactly if you can opt out the committee. Does that help you, Ryan?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. All right. So what I was going to say was for committees, so by next Wednesday, what I need you all to do is go ahead and email me your secretary, email me your chair. This can come from the chair. They can just send me hey, I'm the chair of the committee, as well as is the secretary. So I can go ahead and record that. And then after that, then I would also need your scheduled meetings that you're going to have. So if that's going, like I said last week, I do want to encourage you all to have monthly meetings, but in the bylaws, it does say that as frequent, or it does say, let me see what it says specifically. I don't see it now. I done lost it. But I know in the bylaws, it didn't specifically state like exactly how many meetings you have to have. So like I said, it's up to your interpretation of like how many meetings you want to do. But I do want to encourage you to have at least a meeting monthly, if you can, please. Outside of that, what I need within the next week, just go ahead and start prepping you guys for your officer, not your officer reports, your college reports. The next week we will start the college reports, and the week after we will do the committee reports. If there's anything to report for your committee. So I just need from you your chair, your secretary, as well as your scheduled meetings. So the day and the time when you're having those meetings, and that'll be it. Are there any questions about that? Any concerns?
I guess just let us know when the Supreme Court gets their ruling.
Okay, yeah, I'll let you know. Yes, Sophia.
Oh, gosh. Okay, sorry, I have issues with pressing buttons apparently. So is there a specific format for the college reports and the committee reports that you would like, or just?
No.
Okay.
You don't have to give it in a specific format. I mean, you can just email me. Of course, specifying that this is your report, just so I know, and then I'll put it on the agenda. But you guys just got to make sure that you submit it to me. We're doing a pretty good job as far as completing things in a timely fashion, but just make sure that everybody is. Like I said, there was only 3 people who didn't, or there was 4 people who didn't do this form. So make sure that we're just doing the forms whenever we get some free time. We're just going ahead and just selecting our committees, whatever it is, just to go ahead and interact and just complete it. If you have not already done your tag, so the name tag form, please make sure that you complete that form. Danielle does need that. And the reason for that is just so she has the correct spelling of your name and your pronouns, if you would like to put that on there as well. But that was just a side note that I wanted to give you guys a heads up on. But that's it for committees. if there aren't any more questions or concerns, I'll just be talking with you all in one-on-ones to kind of get a general idea of, what's going on, because I will be doing some more one-on-ones, in the coming days. So definitely let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to reach out to me. And if you just want to understand exactly, I guess, like how to run a meeting, like, definitely reach out to me about that. I don't think this should be like that big of don't think of it too big. The meetings are, just sitting down, talking with your senators. Hey, what kind of issues are we, like, what's going on? I think that's just like kind of like an idea, like just to run off of. Yeah, don't think it's like too formal or anything, but definitely continue to make sure that you're taking your minutes. So secretary needs to take their minutes, and your chair, co-chair, whoever is doing their job as well. Okay, well, if there's no questions about that, then I will go ahead and just move forward. So well, they're actually not here, I don't believe. Oh, Melissa. I am missing 2 senators' office hours. So I did want to go ahead and give you guys a heads up on office hours. So I do know that you guys are not hosts. Something is like, I don't like Zoom because like anymore now, because we've been trying to make everybody alternative hosts, but it's saying that your account is not associated with the Zoom account. And I think the only person it's worked for is Ryan. I don't know why, but he's the only person who it's worked for. We've tried almost every single senator. The email that Peyton's gotten back when you guys registered for your office hours. So everybody has abilities. I would, unless you don't have abilities, let me know. But our process from our end was, okay, they can get in the meeting, they can talk with whoever, and then that's it, and then leave the meeting. So if you would like host capabilities, then we can probably try to figure it out. But I don't know how it's going to happen right now because we're still playing around with it, and we still haven't been able to figure out exactly, what to do, how to actually attach it on there. Yes, JT.
So my question was, I know that we're doing like the office hours and it's going to be virtual, but is SGA in any way going to help us like promote the office hour? Because I mean, you can tell somebody you're doing office hours, if that makes sense. But is that stuff going to be like put on the website or like
Yeah,
on
so
social media?
yeah, so Amani is still like getting everything together. We were just having some issues with this past 2 days. We were having issues with getting on the social media with the password that we had, so we had to rechange passwords and everything. I'm not sure what happened, but she's getting started. So I don't know which senator it was, but I did have a one-on-one with someone, and I did kind of give them a heads up that, because I think it was David. I think David asked me about it. I told David at least about another week. That we can go ahead and get everything on the website, because she has to also get website trained as well. So, of course, where we're at, we're kind of in a pickle, but we're going to make sure we do our due diligence, and we should start actually putting out information for office hours next Monday, but she hasn't gotten on all social media platforms yet. You had another question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my just one more question. I was just wondering, say that like we set up the Zoom links and they're still not working for us, would y'all be open to us? Because like I know how to create my own Zoom links and create like the dates and be repetitive and like it be that same Zoom link. If we do have that capability of knowing how to do that, would you be open to us just sending you our Zoom link and saying like, this is the Zoom link I'm going to use every Tuesday at this time, and I'll make you a co-host so you can log in and see if you want to verify that I'm there?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I don't have any issues with allowing you all to do the Zoom links. I guess the only reason why we did it from our end was because we would know and we wouldn't have to necessarily hop on the call. If we are having any issues, then I mean, yeah, like go ahead, use your own Zoom link and then just send it to us, and then we'll just have it. And if anything, just text a picture, email a picture, something like that you're on your Zoom. I mean, I'm just gonna have to, I mean, I can trust like that you're actually doing your office hours. And then just like I said last week, for those who weren't here, like even if there isn't a student on there, you can still do other SGA work during your office hour. You don't have to just be on the call and like just sit there. Like you can do any other SGA work that you need to do. So I would assume that maybe some people aren't getting students on the call, But this is the first week, so once we like promote it and get it out further and further, because what I want to do is just like have like a post that just has everybody for that specific day, early in the morning, and we just have a scheduled post that, hey, JT, Casey, David, and Ryan's office hours are for today. Feel free to click this link to go to their Zoom or their office hour. Okay, Sophia.
I think this is kind of probably a question that I can answer myself, but I just want to make sure. Can we go ahead and start like advertising our own office hours, or do you want us to wait until SGA does it on like the SGA official platform?
No, so yeah, go ahead and make sure, definitely advertise your own office hours. Once we get Amani all situated, then we'll start advertising from our end. It's just we had to wait for her to get transitioned and everything. But yeah, go ahead and use your platforms as much as you can to advertise it. I do apologize. We wanted to make sure that we got you guys all taken care of, but we will start going ahead and promoting them on our end. Okay, Stephania.
Hi, Cam.
Hey.
So I'm trying to fill out the name tag form, and the link isn't working for me. Like, it's just leading to like the SGA site. So should I just email it to someone?
I'm on the call, Cam, if I can speak.
Yeah, go ahead, Danielle.
Okay, so the form did close on October 5th. So if you will just go ahead and email me at SGACOS with your name, just only send senator, and then your pronouns.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
And so then that's for anybody else who didn't complete the form, just be sure to email Danielle, sga@cos@unt.edu. Your full name, senator, as well as your pronouns, if you have any preferred pronouns. All right, David.
It's not really a question. I know it's kind of a comment. I know I did my own kind of like own advertising on Instagram, and I also went on Instagram Live to get people. That's another way to get people if they're not hopping on, is also go Instagram Live. Like, hey guys, I'm here. You want to talk anything? It's another way too.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think, this year it's going to be, the sky's the limit as far as like how creative we can be. But definitely from an SGA aspect, definitely like David said, just from him personally, I think, also not even just us promoting, but also you guys, it's going to take you guys to promote as well from your end, since everything is virtual. People see our social media. We have 8,000 followers, but some of those followers are alumni. Not everybody is a student because we have 35,000 students. So just to say that, go ahead and make sure that you are promoting on your social media platforms if you do have some. And if you don't, I would encourage you to just make one just, stating that you're a senator. But definitely if you were to make any sort of social media account representing SGA or having SGA, not having SGA in your bio, but essentially representing the organization, just make sure that you are also being presented very well and you're not doing anything that you're not supposed to be doing on that platform as well. But that's just another conversation to have. Were there any other questions or concerns or comments about office hours? Did anybody have any issues as far as getting in? Everybody, because I know Kelsey did, and then I know there was somebody else who also emailed. I don't remember who it was though. But was it Ryan? I think it was Ryan. Ryan emailed me. Yeah, it was Ryan who emailed me as well and asked about host permissions. And so that's the answer as far as what we have right now. We're still trying to figure it out, how to do it. Once we figure it out, then hopefully we do, and then we can give it to you guys. But if we don't, if you guys are able to have a conversation with other students, then that's just the primary goal out of it. Okay, so if there aren't any more questions about that, then all right, so now I have officer reports. So I'm gonna just do this how we did last time, or we've been doing the past 2 weeks. Were there any questions for officers? Any officers? And just go ahead, just raise your hands, and then we can go ahead and get those questions out the way. Are there any objections to letting Yasmin speak? Okay, Yasmin, you can go ahead and speak.
Hi everyone. So I just wanted to say some interns have gotten back and said that they have not received an email back from their senator. So please, if you have received an email from an intern and haven't responded, please do so as soon as you can. But the majority have met with their senators and have given me good feedback. So thank you for that if you have responded and have met with your intern. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. All right. So were there any other questions for officers? Yes, Tara.
Hey, I never got an email from an intern. Like, I don't know.
I know that not everybody got paired. Not every senator got paired with an intern. But Yasmin, you can speak as far as for Tara though.
Yes, Tara, I think I did send you an email with the intern. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I got it. I got that.
Okay, okay. I will look at that and talk to the intern. Thank you.
Okay. So other updates. So tomorrow I'll be having a meeting with my intern on virtual opportunities and events that we can do from not just from an SGA, but a Senate aspect. Some things to kind of, increase our morale, increase our involvement within each other, learn more about each other. So I will be canceling a Senate meeting on the 21st. So we won't have Senate, but all y'all heard was the meeting's canceled. But the meeting's still happening. It's just gonna be a closed meeting. It's just us as senators. That's all it's gonna be. We'll just be having a good time, a hoorah. I'll be getting some more information exactly what kind of virtual activities we'll be doing. And then from there, if there's anything that we need to purchase, then I'll make sure that we go ahead and have it purchased. But just a heads up, we will be having a meeting. We probably won't be meeting the entire 2 hours, but it will be like activity based. So yeah, just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. I'll send you guys the link of exactly what the meeting link will be, since I won't use this one because this is our general meeting link. But once it gets closer to the dates, I'll go ahead and give you guys a heads up of what we're doing and everything else. So yeah, I will be canceling that meeting on the 21st. So if you had legislation, go ahead and try to get it for the next meeting. And for the meeting for the 21st, I'm just gonna put on a pause. We'll just come back on the 27th or the 28th actually. Okay, back to office reports. Were there any other questions for any officers? All right, well, we're kind of quiet today. Okay, so if there weren't any other questions, are there any announcements from anyone? Anything new, exciting going on? All right, y'all ready to go? Oh, yeah, go ahead, David.
No, I was saying there's a debate tonight. So
oh yes,
starts at 8.
There's a debate tonight.
Be active, get informed. That's it.
That's correct. We love that. All right. Well, yes, Sophia.
Do we have any word yet on when we might be able to meet in person or start doing some distance in-person activities maybe?
So from what I remember and I read on the email and that I also heard was that the university is still assessing what it's going to look like for in-person events. So they didn't really give that much. I guess the answer was more of like a no, like right now we're not allowing in-person things because it wasn't like an answer fully. But from what I got from the email and from what also like I've heard is that right now, no. But I did hear from a professor that in-person classes there'll be more in-person classes next semester. So most likely spring semester we'll be looking more towards virtual or not virtual, but like more in-person activities. I don't know, some of you guys were here at the beginning of September when I was explaining to you all about the Senate room. So Senate is large enough for us to social distance in the room at a capacity of, I think we said like it can't be no more than 25 people. So if we're still at this number when it comes spring, then we'll be fine. But if we're not, then we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do. Because I would like to be in person, but of course I don't want to put any strain on anyone. And then it'll be like more optional But we'll have to see exactly how we're going to be virtual as well as in person, if that's the thing. But to answer your question for right now, no. In-person activities are at a halt still.
Let me ask you this. If our committee, like if every individual in our committee is comfortable, are committees allowed to meet in person?
That's not my business. That's y'all business. So, yeah, SGA's name is not on it. That's all I'm going to say. If you're doing anything in person, of course, make sure you're following by CDC guidelines, everything else that's going on, that you're social distancing, wearing masks, whatever else, not whatever else, but, you're following all those guidelines. But, right now for us as an organization, we are not promoting in-person activities. We're not promoting like any sort of like our exec meetings, anything like that. So I would just encourage you all to meet virtually. But, that is y'all business as far as if that's what y'all want to do. But I will encourage you guys to use the virtual platform if you can. Yes, Grant.
I'd like to recognize Devin to speak.
Who? I'm sorry, you went out.
I'd like to recognize Devin to speak.
Oh, yes. Are there any objections? Okay, yes, Devin, you can go ahead and speak.
Hey, thanks. Quick question, and I don't know if maybe Krista, if you're still in here, I don't know if this is something you'd be able to answer or not, but I was under the impression that there were administrative restrictions on organizations meeting in person. I know that was at the beginning of the year. I don't know if they've lifted that or what, but I remember because I think it was the NSLS. I was talking with the president over there, and I think she mentioned something about there being restrictions to in-person meetings. So I just wasn't sure if that's something you knew about or maybe Krista knew about. I just wasn't sure what the situation was on that. In other words, I just want to make sure that no one's getting in trouble for meeting because when you're in a committee, you're meeting for SGA business. So I just want to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing when it comes to administration rules. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yep. I mean, I haven't heard of anything. Chris is not on the call, but yeah, like I said, I encourage you guys to go ahead and meet virtually. And I mean, that's just my answer as far as like what I said. Yes, Sophia.
I guess I just asked because I'm also in Green Brigade, so like we meet 3 times a week, and so I think I'm like at the point in this pandemic where I'm comfortable meeting in person and I'm over virtual.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
I guess I understand. It really just depends with each organization and with each college.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand exactly what you're saying. Like, I mean, we've gotten to the point where this is the new normal, and so we became more comfortable. Exactly, what's going on, wearing our mask everywhere we go. But yeah, like my answer was just go ahead, and I encourage you guys to meet virtually, and that's all we should be meeting in any format. Just go ahead and meet virtually. Yeah, just so we don't have any Twitter trolls. But are there any other questions or comments or concerns? All right. Okay. So I'll adjourn the meeting at 6:43 p.m. So you guys have a great evening, and I will see you guys next Wednesday. Please don't forget to email me back. I know we're out early.